Motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public Safety Complex Committee report. That's moving right along.
Martha Taylor, Town Planner, and I just wanted to give a brief report on the final recommendations and conclusion of the Public Safety Complex Committee. As you know, we gave a report back in December regarding our progress and what we had done in terms of exploring the site just to the east of the existing fire station. And after that time, Tracy held several negotiating sessions with Protection Fire Company number 2. In the end, they voted not to pursue those negotiations, so the project is essentially not moving forward. I have put together a report which I'm not going to go through it all tonight because it actually just kind of reiterates what was in the presentation before, but I have a report here which outlines what our process was, and I've also compiled in it all the relevant documents for the police station, in particular the CSS report, the capital planning report, the old Woodbridge School Committee report, the self-assessment, so everything regarding those facilities are in here in one document at least. So moving forward, we have it all in one place and can refer to it because the work that we did is very much relevant to the future steps that need to be taken. So just in summary, the Public Safety Complex Committee respectfully recommends that the town no longer consider those parcels owned by Protection Fire Company number 2 as a possible location for the Public Safety Complex, that the existing Public Safety Complex Committee be dissolved, and that a new committee be appointed as soon as possible to investigate other locations for the police station and town hall to address the deficiencies that were identified. As those remain, those are not going away, they get worse every day, and they need to be addressed, particularly the police station, very quickly. Two possible sites that have been mentioned are actually doing something here at the location of Town Hall and the police station at 25 High Road, and the property owned by Governor's Academy that they had committed to leasing to us for long term is also still a possibility. So I have copies of the report for everybody. And as I said, we would like to recommend that a new committee be appointed to move forward with the next steps and address these issues.
Okay. Kathy, can you put on the agenda for next meeting?
I've got the appointments here. If you want to take action on them tonight, I would submit to the board Martha Taylor, myself, Sam Joslin, John Lucy, Eric Svan, and Richard Ronda have all agreed, and we may add some additional people as time goes on.
Okay. You want to approve them right now?
I don't care. I'm,
All right with everybody here? Okay, motion to approve all.
Second. All right. I'd just like to make a comment that it'd be nice if we thought about it, but people have already been working on this, and I think it's better to keep the momentum
No, I'm
going.
going. That
Yep.
was just where I was going with that.
Okay.
And second motion to dismiss the previous committee with extreme gratitude. There was a
All
lot of
right,
work.
first
in that.
motion we got to vote on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, second motion.
All right, second motion to dismiss the committee with extreme gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Good.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Everybody all involved with that. It was a lot of work. It's a shame that didn't go through.
Thank you.
Wow. All right, read that later, Chuck. Come on, get to signing here.
All right,
What do we got, citizens concerns?
we got no citizens' concerns that I know about?
We do.
We do? Okay.
My name is Mark Fasoni, my wife Sheila Fasoni. We live at 286 High Road, which is the pumpkin-colored house at the north end of the bridge. And we've got a small business going on in the barn there, it's called In the Barn. We've submitted applications for permits last summer. Went in as maybe a home business application. The business evolved since then. It's turned into a more retail as a result of the customers and the clients that we've had and their excitement and enthusiasm. So we're asking for either a temporary business permit or some other temporary remedy, because the original application for the business license was withdrawn. And then it came to the selectmen, and we were invited to the board back in August or September. And we couldn't make it that night, we had an emergency with our daughter. The following board meeting, my understanding is that it was tabled and given to the building department, Sam, for his review. So we're here to ask for some kind of remedy. The current situation is, you know, we've been open with the town. We've been in communications through the process. When we started, we worked with Sam, advised that we were gonna move the home business activities into the barn. We brought in a permit application for the sign. It met the requirements for not necessary to have an application. We've had permits to enclose the carport and make the structure more weather-tight. And the other thing that we've submitted recently is, again with the town, is the 2015 fiscal year personal property tax information. So, you know, we've been upfront, we've been trying to keep communications. There's been a complaint recently, and Sam has issued a cease and desist, which is the last page in the packet that you've got. So it's evident that we've evolved into more of a retail than I think originally we thought of. The business license has been withdrawn. We were at the board, or we tried to come and couldn't, and now we've got the cease and desist. So one thing we would like to have the board consider is perhaps the location that we're at. You know the property, it's the orange colored, pumpkin colored house at the north end of the bridge. Directly to our south, we have the Parker Marine zoning with the marina and Fernals. Across the street, we've got the town landing, which is certainly recreational, and, you know, it does support the clamming harvesting business. Directly to our north, we've got what is continued to be maintained as a previous boat and boat engine repair operation. So we're kind of sandwiched, if you will, among some other different zoning or situations. So there's one thing that I'd like to reference in the bylaws, and it doesn't really reflect on the map where we are. I think it pertains to the upper green, but it states that these regulations are intended to preserve the historical and rural character of the area while allowing business enterprises that serve the needs of the local residents. So although that doesn't apply to us, it struck me because I think we've tried to maintain that philosophy in the improvements that we've done to the property, both the house, the grounds. The barn was in a state of disrepair. We invested in that to try to save it and maintain it. And you know, we think that it's a quaint little shop that has appeal to residents and non-residents alike. So, in every case, we've received nothing but compliments on what we've done with that property and the shop itself. So, we recognize we've got the cease and desist, but we are asking for some temporary remedy until there can be some final resolution, because this has been in process for about 10 months now.
All right, start with the motion.
Yeah, we gotta have a motion first before we can even
Yeah.
talk about it. Okay, yeah, motion to approve.
Second? Okay, all right, discussion on it. Any questions?
I think Sam's the one to discuss this. You here?
Yeah, if you want me to. Other than the fact that it doesn't fit our zoning strictly, I think the location of it, it was a past business, like the son said, that it's sandwiched in an area where you've got the Upper Greens, or Lower Greens Schoolhouse, the boat repair shop, it's them, marinas, landings, so they're really at the kind of the end of the line where, you know, they're very unique in the location that they're in. They've taken a property that was dilapidated, made it into a extremely nice looking location. As far as traffic, we've talked about that, and I mean, they're looking at, you know, up to 5 cars per day. It's mainly, initially they came to me with internet sales, and this was gonna be the storage for that. But I'm guessing as people came in and saw merchandise there, it kind of evolved somewhat into a shop. You know, barring it getting so wildly popular that it creates a parking issue, I don't see any, and I don't see that very likely. The shop is about the size of our office. So you couldn't get the people in there to begin with. So, you know, other than the fact that from a strict language standpoint, not meeting the criteria, I think it's very fitting for the neighborhood.
Okay.
One other thing, just, the planning board has been talking about potentially, you know, sort of recognizing that there are other businesses like that that have, you know, been in operation along High Road. They're thinking about potentially creating some sort of a, Route 1A High Road overlay district that would specifically allow things like antique shops and art galleries and things like that, because it seems to be, you know, very fitting with that portion of High Road, so.
May I?
Yeah.
Okay. This thing here says a temporary business permit. How long is temporary? What do we do after it expires?
Is there such a thing?
That's what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I don't
why
think it
that's what
necessarily
I'm
has to
reading,
be-
that's why I'm asking.
I didn't know what other recourse we might
Okay.
have.
I don't know if there is such a thing, quite, it's the first I heard of it.
Well,
Yeah,
me too, that's why I'm quizzing.
I think we sort of made it up.
okay,
I think probably what they're thinking, because it's, I had to issue the cease and desist because that's what zoning dictates I do.
Yes.
Even though it's not a safety hazard, it's, you know, it's very low impact. And I think they were looking to get to a point where maybe they could get a resolution, not expecting one this evening,
Right.
to bring themselves there, so to give some sort of temporary, you know, we'll give you 30 days to work through the process. You know, and hopefully that's, I think, where you were going with that. You know, if it's something that can be resolved tonight, then obviously, you
What-
know,
what would you think would be a way to, an approach to come to a resolution on it? Like, you know, we grant a special permit, but it's, you know, there's a process for that.
Yes.
Right, and that's why I think possibly, you know, if tonight you could allow them a stay, you know, give them a 30 or 60-day stay to let the business remain open, you know, and I don't even know if that's quite correct, to get them through the special permit process, so that they have something more permanent. But again, right now,
They've got nothing.
I drove by it for 9 months and didn't even know it was there
Yeah.
until I was told by a member of the town that it was there.
Can the special permit process go through in 60 days?
I just threw the number out there. Special permit
It
process.
does, it has to be advertised. Probably, yeah, because it has to be more like 90, probably.
You know,
Yeah.
again,
all right.
whatever timeline that fits to get them over the finish line, at least through that process.
So we give them a special permit for 90 days until they get the official special permit.
Sam,
It sounds upside down,
yeah,
but,
So
Sam,
I guess it's a stay of the cease.
yeah.
Okay.
didn't last year's town meeting, the planning board changed certain areas of town?
Was
and
across the river.
Some things were permitted
Yeah.
and not permitted?
They did one side of the river, but not the other.
We're
Yeah.
right on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, I
The
mean,
wrong side.
yeah,
We just gotta have.
Give them
All right.
a minute, we'll move the bridge.
all right, so,
How do you wanna?
I'll make a suggestion. I'm not my scintillating self tonight. I'm kind of under the weather, but I'll make a motion that, knowing sometimes 90 days can get longer than 90 days when you're trying to weave your way through town hall. So I'll make a motion, and it can be open to discussion, to grant a special permit for 6 months.
Second the motion.
any other discussion? Are there any neighbors here? Anyone that complained about that want to speak?
Good call.
No. All right. All right, motion's been made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Good.
All right.
All right.
We appreciate it.
And
We're pro-business.
And start working tomorrow on what we need to do to get it. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, that's advice, because like Jeff said,
Because it's
things,
6 months, wrap it up as quick
Yeah.
as you can.
an example, Marshall, how long have you been working on your project?
It's going on 4 years now.
Yeah, okay. That's all, so,
Marshall,
Anyway.
this isn't the same one, is it?
Best of luck, folks. Yes.
So we'll go through Sam and find out what that process is.
yeah, okay, so like I say, don't wait till a week before it needs to be done. All right,
Welcome to stop by.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. New business. Request from the Council on Aging to establish a revolving fund, elder emergency fund, and to accept donations and expend funds in times of crisis.
I think Ms. Jerome,
Sick and can't be here tonight, but Margaret Jerome is here to present a check
Yeah,
to them.
but I think this is, should we have done the first thing first? Before we can accept the check?
Say about the revolving account.
Okay,
Set up a special fund for it.
we've already established the accounting for it.
Okay.
But Ms. Jerome is here to make
Yeah.
the presentation
That-
to the board.
that's B, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, usually I'm off, but,
Yep,
all right, so
gotcha.
number A, we're not gonna do anything about tonight.
No,
No, all right,
no.
all right. Margaret?
That would be me.
Yep. If you could tell us what you've got in your plans.
Well, I rode over 3,500 miles last year, and I raised over $3,200 for the Council on Aging. But I'm only 81, so I got a long way to go. So, I could just give you the check and run.
Okay, no, don't do that, because we'd like to thank you for it, okay?
Really.
Yeah,
It's
on
a
behalf
lot
of the
effort.
Council on Aging, and,
I feel very badly that Marty doesn't feel good.
Yep.
She's not here tonight. I thought she would have enjoyed it.
definitely,
What can you do?
there's a lot of people that aren't feeling well, so, anyway.
I rode back in, I think it was 2006 or seven. I rode 4,200 miles that year and raised 2,300 for the clinic in Newbury, the cancer clinic.
Yeah.
in Newburyport.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's, my husband was there for 2 years, in and out with cancer. I thought afterwards, I must do something really nice for the
Yeah.
girls up there, really loved him. And so I said, I'll just ride my bike.
Yeah.
I did, and I've done several small fundraisers, but not big like that. This is the biggest one amount-wise,
Yeah,
and I feel like it was a good thing to do.
Wow.
I think it's real good. The Council on Aging, more people should be aware of what they do out there, and,
Now, are you aware of what she's gonna do with this money? It's not going into the,
General fund.
No.
She wanted to have it set aside in a special fund. We're gonna put it into the Council on Aging gift fund and have a subsidiary ledger. She asked that it be called an elder emergency fund, to help people in times of crisis.
Yeah.
So that would be
She's not gonna hand out
wonderful.
money, she's gonna buy certificates from like Market Basket,
Yeah,
oil company.
Oh,
If
big
somebody
deal.
runs out of-
Yeah.
runs out of something, she can give them a small, like a
Yeah.
$10 certificate to go buy milk or something, which really makes a lot of sense. She says otherwise people could be out drinking it or buying tickets, you know, that sort of thing.
yeah,
I thought that was a good thing.
it is good, yeah.
Margaret, when did you really start to ride the bike? A lot?
I've been riding for years, but not, let's see, the year 2000.
Yep.
I started riding more than usual, but actually I started way back when my two kids were little. I used to.
You used to bring the bike up to Pittsburgh, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember it.
I used to take it up there and ride.
The Jeromes were great people. They loved Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, and I used to see Margaret riding the bike in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire when they were supposed to be on vacation. She'd be up there in the fall riding the bike
Well,
around.
I'd get somebody with a truck to take me up to the Canadian border.
Yep, and then ride
And
Route
then
3
I'd
right
ride
down.
And you'd think that would be, that 18 or 20 miles, you'd think it would be downhill, but
I know it's not.
wrong.
I know it.
And the logging trucks would,
Oh, yeah. If you didn't get hit by a moose or a logging truck, you did well.
That's
I
amazing.
saw a lot of moves in
Yeah.
that road there, yeah.
I can remember those days.
But actually, since the year 2000, and Bill passed away in 2003, but I rode maybe 1,000, 1,500 a year. And then after he passed away, that was my pastime, you know.
Mm.
Mealtime, I'd just get on the bike, go for a ride, and enjoy it. And I have been 29,300 miles since 2000.
Wow.
How many bicycles?
I've been through quite a few bikes, but more tires. Yeah, but I've got a nice bike now. I have a winter bike. I ride all winter, and I have a winter bike with fenders on it, so it
Yeah,
keeps me from getting soaked. Doesn't keep people from splashing me.
yeah.
So,
That's amazing. We can't thank you enough. You're an inspiration to us all.
well,
Wow.
just gotta stay busy.
And I will remark on
Take
one,
about 30 or 40 batches of jam every, the blueberry, and all the fruit season, pick all the berries. Braid rugs, I got those braided all over my house. I keep busy.
and I will make a point of interest. Whenever I see Margaret riding, she rides with intelligence. I mean, she is not in the middle of the road. It's so often now on some of our small roads that it's hard between people, pushing carriages, riding bicycles. It can get kind of, to be a jungle out there, but whenever I notice you, you're always aware of what's going on, and that's probably why, although you did get in trouble once, right? Did you ever get,
No,
no, you've been good then,
oh, I
okay.
had a fire engine toot a horn behind me, and I went right over the handlebars.
I thought there was something. I thought there was
Right over
something.
the handlebars. It was up in Newburyport.
I can remember
That
that.
wasn't called for either, because there was a place where I was gonna pull right into.
Yeah.
My bike hit the curbing, bent my wheel, and there was a guy running up the street, and he came up and he said, "Are you all right?" And I'm standing up, straightening out the wheel of my, I was more worried about the bike. And I said, "I'm fine." He says, "I never saw that happen." He says, "I've never seen anybody fly over the handle and get up."
Well, that's good.
Well, thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Well, I probably should sign that, right?
Yes.
Probably should have signed it before I brought it down in case I
No,
lost it.
that's good.
$3,250.
And I have 2 more possible checks coming. I have one probably sometime this week and one the following
Yeah.
week. So they might, I hope they're good ones. I'm gonna just put it right in there.
This is a great idea, but Marty and you putting this together, really is. There's,
So I started.
a lot of people don't realize the town has people that support things like that. And you've got this one here that you're getting off and going. And the other one that most people don't know about is the fund that our animal control officer runs. And she has people donate money, supplies, and everything to her. And what she does is give supplies to people that can't afford to take care of their pets. And that's a tremendous thing.
Wonderful thing.
You know,
In
it's-
fact, that's been on the back of my mind to do one for animals. I didn't do it this year because, good thing I didn't, because the winter was so bad. I didn't ride most of the winter.
Yeah,
But anyway, I have one request, and I think that in the future, I think after these next two donations that I may get in the next 2 weeks, I think it would be a good idea to put, instead of having people send checks to me, have them send it right to this Council on Aging.
To the fund.
yeah,
Yes,
that's no problem.
Sounds like a very good idea.
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's a better thing. And I think, you know, people think funny things when you see checks going, keep going to me. Boy.
if they know you, they don't.
This happens to be the book, every donation, I put person's name in there, so, and I thank everyone individually.
Wow.
I will put a piece in the paper and thank all those that,
Yeah.
now that I've
Good.
presented
All right.
the check. So that's all I can tell you.
Okay, well,
Thank you so much.
thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
again.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Friends of Newbury, Eileen Walworth, request for the Upper Green on June 21st.
Yes, we're hoping to have just very small kind of festival on the Upper Green this summer. Free festival, hopefully have 2 bands. People can bring a picnic, dinner, and just kind of, we'll have some events for kids, activities for the kids, like they can play with hula hoops or try to have an area where we can kind of corral them so they're not, people who want to come and just sit down, listen to music, and just come and listen to the music.
Okay, and this would be from 4 to 9 PM.
Right, we'd have music from 5 till 8, but we thought with cleanup and setup.
Okay, good. Motion?
Motion. Second.
Second. Any questions, discussion?
Baseball?
What?
Any coordination with the baseball
They already
teams?
know about this one, so they
All right.
adjusted their schedule accordingly.
Okay,
Okay,
all
all
right.
right. All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Good.
Good luck.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. All right.
Where were we? Oh, yeah. D, Joe.
One-day liquor license from Triton Music Parents Organization for an event at the Byfield Community Arts Center from 8 to 9 PM. And no one here. All the paperwork's all set on that, Kathy? Okay, motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Come
Okay.
on.
Conservation restriction and building restriction agreement for Marsh Meadow. Review and sign. Okay. Marshall, do you want to? 120 days?
I would that it were 120 days.
Yeah.
I've been holding this account now for over 4 years, that we've been trying to get this released through one thing and another. And I realized that a lot of it has been going back and forth because there were some questions, not necessarily substantive questions. However, any little question can hold the whole thing up. Now that we've reached this, if you have any questions of me, I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, go
Okay,
ahead and sign it and we'll get it done.
okay. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Approve.
Okay. Any questions?
None.
All right, I think this has been well vetted and,
The planning board did vote on November 6th to unanimously
Yeah.
to approve these documents.
okay.
Marshall, is this the one that I was on the planning board?
This is the one.
I was too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, we.
It's longer than 4 years.
Well,
No, he's talking about just this,
after we stopped, after we finished the road, it's been more
That's
than
right, too.
4 years.
Good.
Going through the planning board in that whole process, that was closer to 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. And people wonder why we
That's
don't
why I
have any
said
progress in this town.
That's why I
Well,
gave him 6 months.
I think, with all due respect, I think one of the things that has happened is we have choked the capacity down to almost nothing. There's no excess capacity. So when questions come up and something has to go back through somewhere, it's adding to a close to 100% load on people in the state, people in the town, and so it's literally choked. I've noticed with lots of things, it's just choked things down to a crawl
Yeah.
because of funding. And I think this is an example of just that thing.
Yeah.
It's not anybody's fault. We have people, you look at her office, it's piled high with stuff. And so it's not that anybody designed it this way, but we have literally, we look at the town and we're running really, really skinny.
Yeah,
And do not see it getting better anytime soon,
Understood.
so.
Being a divineness committee, I understand.
yeah. All right, so, vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do you have an original for us to sign, Kathy?
I do.
Okay, all right, all set.
Okay, is Susan gonna notarize that, or do you want
I'm
me to
gonna
take it?
notarize the selectmen,
Okay.
and then somebody can pick it up in the morning, or I can mail it to the lawyer.
I'll pick it
I
up.
have his
I'll pick it
address.
up
You
with
pick up? Okay, that'd be great.
That's fine.
First thing in the morning,
Okay.
whatever time
Okay.
you come by. I'm here at 7, so,
Okay, I've gotta be
Anytime
up in
after
Dover
7.
at 9, so I'll come up around 8 o'clock.
okay,
Good.
sounds great.
All right,
Now, we don't have any business with FinCom tonight.
I'm gonna do a budget presentation, the preliminary one, but the FinCom joint meeting with the board to take their votes, I think
Any
is
opinion you're not gonna use.
April
There they go.
2nd.
I'm okay
Their final
with it.
votes.
Yeah.
They say. But you're welcome to,
Well, welcome to stay.
of course.
yeah,
I'll make sure I pass it on, open.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the date?
25th, 3/25.
You knew that.
Can't wait.
all right.
We already did F. All right.
Appointments to the municipal, we did that.
Yeah, we did that.
Appointment for Susan Noyce, parking clerk.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And to acknowledge a receipt for the 2013 license fee payment of $1,252 from Comcast. We've got a letter here. Just, we know that it happened. I don't think we do anything with it. You've already put it in the bank, right, Tracy?
Yes.
The minutes of the February 25th and March 11th meetings, those what you sent through, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay,
Motion to approve is written.
okay, second?
Let me see, Chuck, you can approve the 225, but not the 311.
Okay, let's do the 225 first.
Oh, I was
Okay.
out.
You were not here.
Was it here the 25th?
Good grief.
I don't think so.
Might not have all the people.
You know, Story Beer and Walker.
Okay, so
Okay.
All
Chuck,
right, my motion
Jeff second?
stands.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, the
I was here the
11th. Who was here?
The 11th, Story, Bulgaris, Mountain, and Walker.
Okay, motion,
To approve.
second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All right. We're gonna set the time for the election, May 13th. We got two possibilities, 8 to 8 or 12 to 8. Discussion on it? Any ideas?
I think we should leave it at 8 to 8.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to go when it's, before they go to work.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that don't get home at night before 8, so,
Right.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
All in favor of a motion for 8 to 8?
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion for 8 to 8.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8 to 8 it'll be. Petition for the ATM warrant. We have a petition here for the purchase of a new fire truck pumper, okay? Where is it? It's at the very back of the packet.
Yep.
Now, I thought that we had gone through capital planning, and it's on the preliminary warrant, the same thing.
Capital Planning Committee approved it.
Yeah, capital planning committee approved it, and it's on the warrant, the same thing, but, so this supersedes what we've already done, I guess. Okay,
I
citizens,
think you have to have,
citizens petition's gotta go on,
right.
okay? So, whatever language we have, we'll just discard, and the language in this will be the thing that will rule.
So
Are we in
should-
agreement with that?
Ju-
Go ahead, Chuck.
Should we withdraw our motion and allow this one to stand?
It's an article.
It's an article. We haven't, when we vote on that, we won't, well, we could vote for two of them, I guess, but, when we vote for that, we won't, we'll have to put this one on, and so in order to make it, to balance it, we'll have to take that one off, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Department of Redundancy Department.
Yep, that's what it is. So,
It's a little bit different.
well, yeah.
The language,
Yes.
go on the way it's presented when it comes in by petition.
So if you look at what's in front of us now, especially the part to see if we raise and appropriate the sum, what's different between this and maybe what we had in Article 10 is that we had a roadmap of where we were gonna go, let's say, to, or if we looked at this and changed some of this in Article 10, we could have decided on how we were gonna pay for it at that time. Now, to put this on the warrant, let's say, to put this as is, I don't know if it helps or hurts their cause, and I'm sure they could amend or do something.
This,
I think if you put this in front of the voters without having shown a way that it was gonna be paid for, you would run the risk of not getting it paid for.
the presentation here is asking the town to raise and appropriate.
The sum.
That, we obviously don't have any levy capacity to raise and appropriate, so that would have to be presented as either a capital override, a debt exclusion override, or a general override, the way they've presented it here. We haven't had the discussion, although everyone was in favor of it and it was on the draft warrant, we haven't had the discussion to determine whether or not you wanted to utilize available funds for the purchase, or if you would prefer to see it done as some type of an override proposal.
I'd like to see it go the way they've got it, as a raise and appropriate, because a truck of that magnitude is gonna be maintenance. So if you do debt exclusion, then it dies, and you're still gonna have to come up with money for maintenance and other things as time goes on. This way, if you vote the money, and it's part of your tax, there's money there to maintain it.
If you vote it as an appropriate, raise and appropriate without an override, then you need to be prepared to cut $450,000 out of our operating budget somewhere else. So, we
But
need
I
to be
think
cautious about that.
But I think what we're losing track of the fact is that we could have put it in as a capital bond or something where we
Sure.
would have paid 50 grand a year.
Sure.
This isn't reflecting it. What Mike said isn't reflecting it. I'm sure the voters would like to see that a lot more than all of a sudden paying 450 grand.
We can put both articles and ask the petitioners if they wanted to move no action. If you want to vote another funding plan, there are options, and I do, town council's coming tomorrow, I can speak with her about it. But I do know when petitions come in, it goes in exactly as presented.
I think, though, understanding somewhat, at least what the fire department had envisioned the momentum of this to be rather than supportive, rather than probably setting how it was gonna be funded. I don't know exactly where to go from here. In other words, I think it's very important. It's been vetted by capital planning. It's been recognized by the selectmen. We all know it, and it's a very strong need. I mean, if it was a ladder trucks are important, but we probably got one. This is a pumper. I think it's very important for the town. I would hate to have it not pass it at the polls because of the way this happened to be put forward. And I would do everything I could to make sure that didn't occur. So I don't know if I can, where to go, but
Citizens
town
peti-
council might be able to help us.
The
What?
citizens petition, we have to put on as it's presented to us.
Unless they want to withdraw it and
Unless they-
then
yeah.
leave Article 10 the way it is.
Well-
It's up to you.
Why don't we go back to what I said originally, just talking? Why don't we put it in both ways?
You can do that.
Now, in order to withdraw a citizen petition, I don't know if you know, but do all the people that signed the petition have to agree to withdraw
I
it?
do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, because
Jeez, what a great point.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, a citizen petition is, everyone signed this, and are we obligated if they want to?
Maybe all but 10.
No, I mean, we got to do it right, and I don't know that.
Now, do we have to have this on to make the warrant tonight? Do we have one more selectmen's meeting before this, so we can answer those questions?
What, John?
Recognize what Marshall was wanting to say something, or you
Yeah.
just-
We were questioning whether this was going on the ballot on the 13th or at town meeting, and Trace just clarified that this is a.
With an
two-part.
override, it's
Yes.
This
two.
would be, they're
Oh, yeah.
asking for an
Yeah.
override, and then it also has to pass town meeting.
Right.
Town meeting first, then it goes on the ballot.
No, actually, your ballot is first here.
Really?
Your election is prior to town
We
meeting.
changed that several years ago because what it was, if, it would go to town meeting and then to the ballot. And if it got turned down to the ballot, you had to redo your town
You're
meeting.
right.
Right,
I stand corrected.
So,
yeah, so, okay, I was just,
all right, so,
A little bit more. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
confusing.
And as Mike pointed out, one of the things that came out of capital planning, and is an important element to include, is the maintenance of these things, because capital maintenance is an important part of keeping the equipment going. Just as, we've been in trouble with a lot of deferred maintenance on capital stuff, and if you didn't have as many volunteers, talented volunteers in the town as you do, we'd be in worse shape still. So I think it's something that we have to recognize as one of the funding issues that goes with this. Now, we were on for a not-to-exceed number,
Mhm.
but somebody's gotta talk about the fact that if this is something that the town does, the town also has to incur maintenance costs on that thing going forward for the next 10 years or however long this piece of equipment is gonna last. And that's another budget item that needs to be recognized by the annual town meeting.
And in the budget presentation that you'll see in a little bit, there is an additional $10,000 in the fire department function for additional maintenance, not necessarily specific to that particular vehicle as a
Oh,
new
yeah,
vehicle. But, yes.
and it's important, I think, Marshall, because going back a few years, when we started the downward spiral as far as the finances of the town, okay, what people hit and cut every year were maintenance issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and, like we've seen how foolish that was. So it's up to, I think really it's up to the department heads to get up and present their case and explain why they need this money in their budget, So anyway, I think we're on the same tack, but we gotta make sure that we're diligent and we do the proper maintenance for these things. I mean, we've lost it on buildings and towns, our equipment. I mean, we all remember the day that the dump truck, the rear end fell out of it over by the stoplights there. I mean,
How about when the brand-new snowplow, that had 5 miles on it, broke down in the parade?
it didn't break down, it caught on fire.
All right.
Oh,
But, no, that wasn't a maintenance thing, it was a brand-new warranty
Brand
thing,
spanking
yeah.
new truck.
So the only thing is, because, point well taken, I somehow see maybe an ancillary And like I said, I'm not thinking that great tonight, but I see an ancillary scenario where maybe this pumper has a catastrophic failure that is an engine or a transmission, and has costs in excess of what the truck is worth, maybe in the $70,000 and $80,000, whatever fire trucks, let's say, could cost to repair something like that. And now we're without a pumper, or the town, because that fire department might need or does not have, the town's gonna be maybe then repairing, because now it's been vetted at capital planning, an old pumper.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this isn't, it's classically complicated, very complicated, and I don't think you really wanna leave the town unprotected. So whatever it takes, maybe we should really put our heads together in the best way we can to come up with some sort of thing that, makes sense to everyone.
I don't think we can pass something in this year's budget at town meeting that we make a commitment for in 3 years or 5 years. We have to do it at that town meeting for that year. So we have to be diligent with that, so. All right, so
there's quite a few questions on this. Should we table this till those questions are answered, or should we put this on tonight?
we don't have any choice. We've got
I
to-
guess.
Okay, I think
This is the last meeting?
no, but
Oh,
the next one, but I think at this point, I personally agree with Mike.
I put
We
them
put them
both
both on there.
okay.
And then it's easier, and then you can take it off. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to, jump around, but if we put them both on right now,
Okay.
at the next meeting, but this one here has to stay on, because it's a citizen's petition.
And I'd let it go to the election, because if it passes, you're ahead of the game.
The one thing you will have to do by the April 8th, no later than the April 8th meeting, is you will have to take a vote as to whether or not to
To do this one
present it
here.
as an override proposal to the ballot language.
Okay.
Will have to be provided to the town
Well,
clerk.
then,
Right.
if you actually think that way, what Michael had just said, they really say the same thing.
No, they
It's
don't.
just that Article 10, in some respects, conditions how you're gonna pay for it.
Right,
So they say the same thing.
Mhm.
but it's how you get there is
Yeah.
Right.
greatly different.
Maybe,
And you have a second chance.
well, I mean, it makes sense in some respects, and maybe we should, as we talk about Article 10, decide how we really wanna pay for it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. All right, so we'll formalize that motion to put them both on,
I'll make a motion, we put both of them on.
okay?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so they'll both be on there. And then we can,
Wow,
at the next meeting, we
okay.
can figure out if we want to do something a little bit different.
Nope, not at all.
All right. Is this mine?
Yep.
I'd like to look through that. Okay, petition for, no? Communication.
Grant opportunities for recreational saltwater fishing.
Where is it? Okay, attention, select boards, mayors, and town managers. Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries is tasked with finding and funding projects that enhance recreational saltwater fishing opportunities through improved public access. November 3rd, 2009, House Bill 4309 instituted a saltwater fishing license. Line 20 to 22 of that law reads, provided at least 1/3 of the license fees appropriated for expenditure in a fiscal year shall be expended on existing or new facilities and other activities that improve public access to recreational saltwater fishing. In order to improve saltwater fishing opportunities, we are funding a grant program in the form of a request for responses to municipalities. This grant opportunity is posted on the state compass system, Empty Squat. To find the solicitation, go to, the opportunity exists for all towns with waters that require a saltwater fishing permit. Potential project types include but are not limited to clearing of ways to the water, installation of lights on a fishing pier, installing parking for fishing access sites, improving existing boat launches, The grant opportunity has a closing date of, March 28th, 2014. As a pilot program, we have limited the amount to $10,000 per project. Some of the requirements that municipalities must agree to include an equitable public access agreement. Any questions should be directed to Ross Kessler. All right, now what was the date today? 25th, so we have 3 days to prepare a thing. Anyway, a little bit late. We have a letter from Newbury Elementary School. Dear Ms. Blaze and Mr. Packer, Newbury Elementary School Parent Teacher Association wishes to thank the town of Newbury, including Town of Newbury Public Works and the Stormwater Management Committee for assistance with completing the Newbury Elementary School rain garden in August last year. We could not have completed this project with support from the town. As you know, the rain garden is a joint effort between the school's Parent-Teacher Association and Newbury. The new rain garden is already a huge success. It's collecting and filtering the polluted runoff from school parking lot. It is reducing erosion, which was such a problem before the rain garden installation, and it allows cleaner stormwater to recharge the groundwater and protects the nearby wetland. It is improving itself to be a great educational tool and is nicely located in the middle of the school playground and frequently used by school children. In the spring, native plant species will be planted in the garden bed, which will add much visual interest and further opportunities for student education. A permanent sign will be added to the garden, thanking donors and explaining the benefits of this tremendous addition. We plan to host an event in the spring to celebrate the grand opening of the garden and hope that you may be able to attend. We'll let you know more about these plans soon. We sincerely appreciate your most helpful assistance and look forward to further joint projects. From Emma Sales and Sally Milliken. That was for people that weren't aware of it, it was a big effort. Because what they did is constructed a rain garden in soils that would not support a rain garden, okay? And it was an awful lot of, they thought it would be a pretty easy thing, and they went in and ran into a lot of difficulties, and John O'Connell spent a lot of time out there, he and Doug. But again, John O'Connell, he was determined to get it done, and he found a way to do it, and he had a lot of help from a lot of volunteers. And it's interesting because just the other day, I was talking to a student at Newbury Elementary, and I was explaining to him the project that's going on over at Fatherland Drive as far as some mitigation of some wetland problems there, and what they're doing is they're putting in a stormwater runoff system where the water runs under the road at a pretty high velocity, hits a pond, slows down, sediment drops out, and then it clears the water that way. And so I was explaining it step by step to this young man, and he said, that's just like the thing we got over the school. So anyway, so it's catching, and it's working, so that's good. All right. Tracy, you've got it.
Okay. In terms of administrator's report, I just wanted to let you know that I've been notified by the city of Newburyport that there are ongoing Plum Island water system repairs that were beginning today and are expected to take approximately 2 weeks to complete. Any residents who experience any kind of interruption in service should contact the city's water sewer business office at 978-465-4420, but they do not expect there to be any interruptions. Wanted to also update you on the snow and ice deficit. Right now, it stands at a little over 144,000.
Good night.
So that is something that we are going to have to address at the special town meeting that we hold prior to the annual town meeting. Also tonight, I wanted to give you a preliminary budget presentation so we could start thinking about votes that will have to be taken on April 8th. That's when we'll have to have the ballot language turned into the town clerk. April 22nd, we'll have to sign warrants. May 13th is the annual town election, and May 20th, the annual town meeting. So just that you're aware of those dates. Let's see here. We started talking about budget goals and priorities a number of weeks ago. The board, I think, was in consensus when we talked about reinstating public safety programming. You've talked about that consistently over the last 2 years as one of your highest priorities. We had also talked about reinstating human service funding over the last, it's been pretty much over the last decade that we've seen the decline in programs and services that the town's been providing, and the Council on Aging was one of the other areas that was hit pretty hard. We also want to spend some time this year developing a road inventory. Want to identify all of our town-owned roads, get it down into a program, understand what's town-owned versus private roads, make sure what our inventory corresponds to what Mass Highway has to ensure that we're getting all of the Chapter 90 funding that we're eligible for. And ultimately, it will help you as you prioritize the roads that need to be reconstructed, repaved, in particular after this winter. We're going to be facing a lot of necessary improvements. Continue funding our OPEB liability. The unfunded liability stands at about $4.6 million, and we'll have to be doing an update to our report this next year. So that's something that it's looming. You know, it's out there where we make a small contribution each year, but it's more to keep it in the back of people's minds. We want to continue maintaining adequate reserves. We're at the very minimum of what we'd like to see a community have. Department of Revenue recommends, I think, a minimum of 5% of operating revenues, which would be about $840,000, to 15%, which is about $2.5 million. So, you know, we're at the bottom of where we need to be. Want to continue addressing capital facilities. We've done so at a pretty rapid clip. We've addressed many of our issues, but still finding a home for our police department is a priority this year. Securing lease agreements, contracts with both the Triton Regional School District for our elementary school facility and our fire companies. And enhancing communications with the residents. The media committee has really done a tremendous job in getting our channel up and running, and we want to continue adding other boards and committees. In summary, basically, our operating budget totals a little over $17 million. It's a small increase, 1.6% increase overall in our spending. Education spending increases about 5.7%, and municipal decreases by about 3%, and that's primarily due to declining debt service payments. The proposal that you have before you allows for a 2% increase in wages of non-contractual employees, those not represented by either a wage contract or a collective bargaining agreement. I'm sure you've heard me say it before, I'll say it again. We rely very heavily on property taxes here in Newbury. We do have more growth this year than we've seen in many years, but it's still minimal in terms of supporting our operating expenses. Slight increase is projected in state aid at this point, little over $45,000. It's not, that's based on the governor's House 2. It's not finalized. Obviously, we don't usually have a final budget until June. We don't have a lot of new revenue sources. We're very limited in what we can provide. Solar initiatives were things we had discussed this year, but they didn't move forward. We've reviewed permitting and all of our fees. They're not the highest, but they're not the lowest. They're still relatively competitive. So at this point, we haven't identified any new revenue sources. On the expenditure side, retirement assessments are increasing. Our health insurance this year is projected to increase. It's a preliminary projection, but it's up 9.8%. That's a pretty staggering amount. You have to remember, though, in the last 2 years, we did enjoy more modest increases based on the plan design changes that we implemented. But it's still, that's a difficult amount when the town funds 75% of the overall expenses. The educational costs, we have increases in the two-step method of assessing education costs, as well as increasing enrollments at both Whittier and Essex North Shore Agricultural. So we're challenged with that this year. Your other post-employment benefit liability is a little over 4.6 million. Good news is all of our contracts have been negotiated, and in this budget proposal, we were able to completely fund them. This you've seen before. It just kind of gives you an idea of what a typical year might look like, what we expect approximately for increases in our revenues, and what we typically would deal with in increases on the expenditure side. And our deficit, is always between the $150,000, $250,000 range. So that's been pretty consistent. We have only 3 sources of revenue that we rely on to fund our operations: property taxes, local receipts, and state aid. Property taxes are limited to the 2.5 annual increase, which this year is a little over $330,000. We are projecting new growth at the $160,000 range, but that it does include some small subdivision growth that you might not have on a typical year. Local receipts, it's interesting. It generally doesn't fluctuate significantly from one year to the next, but if you look at where you were 10 years ago and where you are now, you can see it's still not where we were. Just gives you a little graphic analysis. Available funds. In 2011, we certified free cash at an all-time high. There were a lot of things that went into that certification, including collection of a large amount of back taxes. We've been using it to fund initiatives, deficits in snow and ice. So the last 2 years of certification haven't been as high. This shows just overall what our total operating budget is. Again, the changes from one year to the next are not significant. The levy increase, it's a 3% increase, but that includes debt exclusions. Local receipts were completely flat. There was some fluctuation between, motor vehicle excise versus license and permits, but the bottom line of all of them, it stayed completely flat. State aid has a small increase, and we are using available funds, more available funds this year than we have in previous years, based on all of the special article requests that have come in. Kind of gives you the totals. Again, you see the heavy reliance on the property tax levy. Almost, it's generally been between 75% and 80%.
Tracy, available funds, back in the last slide.
Yeah.
Those are reserves?
Those are our reserves, utilizing free cash, stabilization fund, the sale of land account, those accounts. That's what would make up available funds. Also, we have a small amount of money that we appropriate for the fire alarm maintenance, that we charge a small fee to the people that use them, so anything like that would go into the available funds category.
So are available funds actually revenues, or are those things that you saved from the year before?
We save them from the year before, but in
So you just.
In municipal accounting, we use it as a revenue source, but it really, at any point in time, and there have been times, if you looked at where we've gone into a negative position in some of our available funds, so you wouldn't have any of those. And that's why using available funds to support your annual operating costs is a notoriously bad practice, because at any point in time, you may not have them available. So what this budget does is it uses those to fund one-time purchases and the likes. Stabilization funding, capital asset replacements, those types of things. Expenditures, again, you can see where the increases were. The biggest decreases in debt service, we have a pretty significant decline. However, we have to keep in mind that the majority of our debt is debt exclusion overrides. So even though the expenditure is decreasing, the revenue to support it is disappearing as well. So we're not gaining significant levy capacity. That's kind of the breakdown of our expenditure funding. This is typical for most municipalities. You would expect to see the higher percentages spent on education. So there's nothing really that's particularly out of whack here. Sometimes, and it's important to see where you are, but I always like to go back and see where we've been as well, because I think that shows whether or not you're meeting the goals or the challenges that you set for yourself. So you can see we've, benefits have stayed pretty steady, even though they're increasing. Like you look at that 9% this year and you say, wow, but they're pretty much stayed relatively the same amount of our operating budget over 10 years. Our municipal spending has gone down slightly, which you all know that. Debt service is declining, and this shows that you have made a commitment to spending on education. As you can see, that we're increasing our contribution. As far as highlights, just to give you some of the budget in brief, the salary and wages for, again, non-represented employees are going up 2%. There is an increase of $10,000 to the reserve fund. The Finance Committee has talked about increasing that at least for the 3 years I've been here, and I would suspect longer than that. Longer. So this is a small increase. It'll bring that account up to $100,000, which is still less than 1% of our operating budget. The assessor's office, you'll see a decrease in there. That was a reorganization, led to savings in that account. The savings in that account, I'm asking to increase in the Council on Aging account to add back one of the positions that was lost in previous years. We have a pictometry flyover scheduled for April. So you'll see a slight increase in funding this year to pay for that. Insurance at this point is just an estimate. Our property, casualty, and liability insurance has an increase of about $14,000. It's the PD. Currently, we have 11 full-time officers. I just included this in here because a lot of times people will ask for those numbers. It was down from 17. I think that was in 2005. The collective bargaining agreement is funded. We're in the last year of our contract, so we'll be starting negotiations for the next contract. And the cruiser replacement program, which has been very successful, remains in the operating budget this year. There are some new positions. Shellfish constable, when we had our meetings with the Shellfish Advisory Committee, and had our conversations about their role and potential conflict, and as we got more involved in that, we started to understand the position. The personnel board got involved, wrote a job description, did their analysis and ranking, and this was what they came up with. They felt it was a very important part of the long-term health of our shellfish industry, that it's not only about enforcement, but also about maintenance, seeding, and those types of programs. You probably know a lot more about it than I do. Fire departments added an administrative position, and also the additional funding for maintenance that we had talked about earlier, the $10,000. Education, those are the percentages of increases this year. The Triton Regional increase is about 4.6. Whittier is a little over 43, and Essex North Shore is about 53%. Essex North Shore is a little bit different this year. Previously, we've been hit on as an assessment on our cherry sheet for our contributions to what was formerly Essex Aggie, but now that they've consolidated, they're going to send us an assessment much like we received from Whittier and Triton. Our DPW, the collective bargaining agreement, was funded. Again, here you'll see we have 7 full-time employees. That includes the director, down from 13. That didn't happen this year. That's just from where we were back in, I think, 2005. The road improvement program, I've added 20,000. Our target is for a $250,000 program. And let's see, with that addition, I think it brings us to 100, yeah, it brings us up to 100,000. Snow and ice, there's a proposal to increase that by 45,000. We had talked at length at the Finance Committee about what the best approach was to snow and ice, and we've kind of concluded that to try and budget it at 75% of the previous 5 years average, and that going backwards, that seemed to work out to be almost perfect to fully fund it, with some slight deficits, but nothing that was too significant. So our target was 202, and this proposal will bring us to 200,000. Council on Aging, we talked about adding back that position and also including a 2% increase for the employees. The veterans budget is increasing a little over 13,000. That's both our assessment in the new district as well as an identification of additional benefit services due to veterans. That's a very difficult number for us to predict in any given year because you never know who may move into town, who may become eligible for benefits, but we're hoping that, we won't have to adjust it, but if we do, we can always go to the Finance Committee for a reserve fund.
Maybe that minuscule thing that's way too small.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
But it's up this year, hopefully.
Just you wait.
Yeah, I know. The library, it's up a small amount, 3,000 additional for books and periodicals. Again, we talked about debt service reductions. Essex Regional Retirement System up 4.9%. 9.8 on group insurance. So basically, I should also mention to you that the requests were well over what has been funded. It's not because anything was lacking in merit, it's just because we had to live within a finite set of resources here. So basically, we're going to need an override. As presented to you, this budget would require an override of about $147,000. We have utilized that 50-50 revenue sharing proposal or policy, if you will, over the last couple of years. Based on that, we'd need another $147,000 to fund our educational assessments. So that's something you have to think about between now and April 8th. Do we want to present an override proposal, or do we want to go back and make adjustments to the operating budget and reduce it by the $147,000? I think it's my attempt to address your priorities and add back some staffing and programs lost during the past decade. We have addressed a lot of our facilities issues, with the exception of the police station, which is obviously a significant one. So decisions that you're going to have to make on the 8th will be voting the overrides, if you want to have one. Decide how you want to fund the fire department apparatus, capital override versus utilizing available funds, or a debt exclusion override in which we would pay, a smaller amount on an annual basis over, say, a 10-year period. And also, we had a presentation a couple of months ago, back in January, on the Community Preservation Act, so that's something you have to decide whether or not you want that to move forward, because that would have to go on the ballot as well. Also gave you draft warrant articles. If you want to take a quick minute, I can just identify a couple of issues, bring to your attention what's before you. You've got an article for $9,000 for portable radar units, which I would recommend be, again, if you decide to leave these on the warrant, my recommendation would be to fund it through free cash. We've got the purchase of a wheeled excavator for $140,000. That would be a proposal that would come from the funding from the stabilization fund. An asphalt roller from the DPW for $15,495. The pumper purchase for an amount not to exceed $450,000. We're in the second year of the firefighter gear purchase, so it was $16,000 for 3 years. That would come out of the stabilization fund. Fire alarm maintenance would come out of the other available fund category. Mantor Field septic system proposal for repairs for $50,000. I would recommend funding from the stabilization fund if you want to move forward with that. We still have library repairs for $59,410. That also should come out of the stabilization fund. All of these issues have gone before capital planning, but they have not all been approved. Byfield Grange Hall window replacement, $37,000. If you want to move forward with that, that would be recommended from the stabilization fund. And then we have our annual recreation revolving fund and our harbor master revolving fund for $50,000 and $70,000. Harbor Master has put in a proposal to purchase a boat for $35,000. That's boat and all the gear that goes with it, and that would come for from the Waterways Improvement account that can only be spent for Harbor Master related purchases. And part of that proposal is also selling the Parker. They feel that that boat is actually too big for what they need. I would request $31,000 for the road inventory that we spoke of, and I would recommend we use free cash for that. And also an update of our master plan and our open space and recreation plan, an appropriation of up to $60,000 from free cash for that. So those are the majority. You've also got a lot of bylaw changes on there to look at and read, but those are the articles requiring appropriation. So on April 8th, we'd have to take our votes then, and that's when the finance committee would join us, and we'd take all our votes. I'd record those for the appropriation booklet. That
Tracy,
makes sense.
Before we get too far along,
Mhm.
these radar units you're talking about,
Mhm.
are they the ones that mount on the poles?
Mhm.
Okay. Have anybody approached Governor's Highway Safety?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, because I work in that office,
Mhm.
all right? And your gas tax money pays for that. And you can apply for a grant and probably get it.
Okay,
And they'll fully fund them.
okay. I'll mention that to the chief.
I mean, back 3 governors ago, I did that for cities and towns.
Governor's Highway Safety Council?
I think they're
Good
still,
info.
I
Yep.
think they're
Alright.
still in existence.
That'd be good.
And I'll find out through some of my sources who the contact people are now.
That would be helpful, yeah. That would be great.
I think that's a good idea, having those communities that have them seem to think that,
Yeah,
you know, we've got certain areas in town, Byfield Center and Hanover Street it's a cut through for a lot of people, and, you know, it's a good reminder for people, it gets their attention.
Mm.
I don't know, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we live on one of the worst corners, right at Scotland Highfield, right, and it's right as everybody thinks they get off the light coming out of Newburyport, and they think that they're already at 95. And they come whipping around that corner, and there's a school bus there twice a day, and
Yeah.
nobody's stopping, like, we're,
Yeah.
and because they hit that stretch of Scotland, that they feel like they're right on 95 already, they're checking their phone, they've tuned out already, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, there's definitely areas that
Just
you can see that.
It's funny, because years ago, we talked to Mass Highway about putting a stop sign where you get off of Route 95 south into downtown, into Byfield Center,
Yeah.
and they didn't want a stop sign there, because in other areas in the state, the traffic backs out onto the interstate.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they've got a policy not to do that anymore. And, because if someone come to a stop, it's a lot different than if they're rolling at the highway speed, you know?
Tracy, along the same line, the ones that we would apply for the town would be like Scotland Road and the town roads. And we have 2 state highways, 1A and Route 1, that the state would put them up, because if you get on 1A in Hamilton, you'll see them on the posts. So that's another section out of the same Governor's Highway Safety Bill that would do it, but it's the state section, not
Okay.
cities and towns, so. But that money is funded through, it's to reduce accidents, and it's funded from the gas tax money.
Okay. I'll look into it.
And then the other,
Any question?
I will.
the other thing, I brought this up more than once. I really think we should pursue lights at Route 1 and is it Middle Road or Elm Street? There's an accident there every day,
Tell me where again, I'm sorry.
right where Governor Demmer comes out on the Route 1.
We have a flashing light there now?
Yeah, there's a flashing light there, might as well not even be there.
Oh,
There's
okay.
been, I'd say there's been at least 2 deaths there, and I don't know how much more has to happen. It's just a bad place. Every day, there's an ambulance call there.
This has to go to Kathy.
All of those expenditures looking like they're coming out of stabilization or free cash. I'd love to see, what does it look like if we fund, if every one of these gets funded, what that does. Does that,
If everything gets funded as proposed,
As
as
proposed, right.
recommended, assuming everything stays on the warrant and
Yeah.
gets funded, we'd end up with a free cash balance of about 713,000 and a stabilization fund balance of about 123,000. That does not include the snow and ice deficit,
so nice to,
which is
what,
about
another
145 right now, yeah, 150 by the time we're
Don't
done.
know tomorrow comes along.
Yeah,
No.
No, oh, believe me.
No
I
storm
am-
tonight.
Oh, no, I am like, I have decided that the only weather report I care about is, I want them, I don't care what front's coming through it or whatever, is school on.
Yeah.
It's going to be off, that's the only thing, if you're gonna, that's the only weather report I care about, it's gonna be cold until,
It'll be
May.
cold until we take off
Until we take off.
vacation next week, and then it'll be 70
yeah,
here.
it's 80 and, it's gonna just be 80 in Orlando all next week, and that's all I care about. Only me off the ground on Sunday.
But it's gonna be 70 here Monday.
I
Matt
know,
Noyes said this
get me
morning.
off the
That's
ground on
yours.
Sunday.
I came in this morning, I said, Tracy, is next week when you're off? She said, yeah. I said, Matt Noyes just said 70 Monday.
Wow. That it, Mr. Chairman?
Yep,
Motion to adjourn?
yep.
Second.
Any questions or any, oh, anyone go to any meetings or anything, any updates? No?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, adjourned.